Just sign it, honey, my brother said, sliding a stack of papers toward me. His voice was trembling, but not with grief. Mom had just been rushed to the hospital after what they said was a paralysis attack. Or so I thought. When I walked into the living room, she was there. Upright, alert, dressed too perfectly for someone supposedly ill. My stepfather sat beside her, hand on her shoulder, fake concern etched into every wrinkle of his smirk. "Thank God you came so quickly," he said. "Your mother can't handle stress right now. These are just a few documents to manage her finances while she recovers." "Hi everyone, my name is Elena Rhodes, and that day I learned that family doesn't always call you home for love. Sometimes it's for leverage." I glanced at the papers. Property transfers. Account access. A clause that would make them full beneficiaries in case of permanent incapacitation. They'd even used legal language polished enough to sound noble. "Mom," I asked softly, "you really want this?" She avoided my eyes. "She's tired," my stepfather interrupted. "Don't upset her. Just sign. You've always trusted family, haven't you?" My brother added quickly, "We're all under pressure here. It's what she wants." It was almost impressive. The way they rehearsed it, the fake tremble in their voices, the performance of care. So I smiled. And I signed. At least that's what they thought. Because the pen I used wasn't ink. It was a pressure stylus, the kind used for document replicas. Every stroke recorded, every signature traceable. Then I looked up and said quietly, "Funny thing about paperwork, it's only valid if it's real." Their faces froze. And for the first time in years I had their full attention. My stepfather blinked first, confusion crawling across his smug expression. "What do you mean, if it's real?" he asked, reaching for the paper. I slid it closer to me and smiled. "You didn't think I'd sign away everything without reading, did you?" My brother scoffed. "Elena, stop being dramatic. It's just temporary power of attorney. That also transfers ownership of Mom's company, 3 properties, and my investment account," I interrupted. His jaw tightened. "You don't understand." "No, I understand perfectly," I said. "I just didn't know greed could walk and talk this well." Mom's hand trembled on the armrest. "Elena, please, don't make a scene." I looked at her, really looked, and for a moment I saw guilt flicker beneath the makeup. I pulled my phone from my coat pocket and tapped the screen. The room filled with the sound of their voices from 10 minutes earlier. Clear, crisp, recorded. "She'll sign anything once she sees her mother crying." "Good, we'll get the accounts transferred before she realizes it." My stepfather's face drained of color. My brother shot up from his chair, stammering, You recorded us?" I shrugged. "Just a precaution. When family becomes unpredictable, technology keeps things honest." Mom's eyes widened. "Elena, you were recording?" "Yes," I said softly. "Because I knew this wasn't about your health. It was about my silence." The doorbell rang before anyone could speak again. 2 men in suits stepped inside, my lawyers. "Everything okay here, Ms. Rhodes?" one of them asked. I leaned back, folding my arms. "Perfect timing," I said. "Let's make this official." The moment my lawyers stepped into the room, the atmosphere shifted. My brother backed away from the table, his confidence evaporating faster than his excuses. "Who the hell are they?" my stepfather demanded. "My legal team," I said simply. "And since you've already attempted fraud, they'll be handling this conversation from now on." My lawyer, Ms. Patel, opened a folder of her own. Thicker, heavier, final. "These," she said, "are the revised inheritance documents, signed by your mother 3 weeks ago under verified medical capacity. Your daughter, Ms. Rhodes, is now the sole executor of the family trust." You could have heard a pin drop. My brother's face went pale. What do you mean sole executor?" "It means," Ms. Patel said without looking up, "you and your stepfather no longer have access to a single cent." Mom blinked, confused. "But I never signed that." "You did, Mom," I said quietly. "On your birthday, remember? Those extra pages I told you were for the new insurance policy? That was the trust. I had it notarized while you were still lucid and safe." Her lips parted, half shock, half relief. She didn't know whether to be angry or grateful. "You tricked her," my stepfather shouted. I tilted my head. "No. I protected her. You tricked her for years. I just made sure your tricks finally expired." My brother slammed his hand against the table. You can't do this to us. I smiled. Funny. That's exactly what you said before trying to take everything I own. The lawyer closed her folder with a quiet snap. This meeting is over, she said. And for once no one dared to argue. 2 days later I got a call from my mother's attorney. Thomas, my stepfather, had filed a petition to challenge the trust. Apparently he claimed I had manipulated her while she was emotionally vulnerable. It was almost impressive how fast desperation turns to creativity. Don't worry, Miss Patel said, calm as ever. We've got every timestamp, every medical certification. He's cornered himself. Still, I attended the hearing. I wanted to watch the man who thought he could outsmart me stand in front of a judge and choke on his own arrogance. Thomas arrived in an expensive suit, probably one of the last he'd be able to afford. My brother sat behind him, pale and fidgeting. Mom sat beside me, quiet, eyes down. When the judge entered, Thomas began his rehearsed sob story. She was confused, Your Honor. My stepdaughter pressured her. Ms. Patel stood and slid a file across the desk. Your Honor, this includes audio from the day in question. Mr. Thomas instructing his son to stage a medical emergency to lure Ms. Rhodes home for signatures. The courtroom went silent. The judge pressed play. Thomas's own voice filled the room. Once she sees her mother crying, she'll sign anything. Don't mess this up. His face drained of color. Mom lifted her head slowly, eyes locked on him. That was your plan, she whispered. He stammered something about context, but it didn't matter. The judge ruled in less than 5 minutes. The trust stood, charges were filed for fraud and coercion. Outside the courthouse the press waited. Thomas tried to push past them, but one reporter shouted, Any comment on being outsmarted by your own stepdaughter? He didn't answer. Because in that moment he knew his empire, his lies, his leverage, all gone. And all it took was the truth recorded and replayed. That evening the house was quiet again. The same living room where they'd once cornered me now felt hollow, stripped of control, of tension, of pretense. Mom sat across from me, hands clasped tight. I don't know what to say, she whispered. I thought he loved us. Her voice broke on the word loved. I stared at the window instead of her face. You thought because he smiled at you that meant safety, I said softly. I thought the same once. She exhaled shakily. You shouldn't have had to protect me, Elena. But I did, I replied. Because no one else would. We sat in silence for a long time, the kind that isn't awkward, just heavy. Finally she said, You have every right to hate me. I chose him over you. I met her eyes then. Hate doesn't fix anything, Mom. But it does make things clear. She flinched a little. I know, she whispered. That's why I called my lawyer today. I'm filing for divorce. The assets, the properties, I want them in your name until it's settled. I don't trust myself with them anymore. That was the first time she'd ever admitted not trusting her own judgment. And somehow it meant more than any apology could. I nodded slowly. I'll take care of it, I said. But not for you, for what's left of us. Her tears came quiet, unperformed. When she reached for my hand, I didn't pull away. It wasn't forgiveness, not yet. Just the fragile beginning of something that might one day resemble it. Outside the world went still. For once no one was shouting. No papers, no schemes, just 2 women sitting in the ruins of the same lie, trying to build something honest from what was left. A week later a letter arrived at the firm addressed to me. No return address, but the handwriting was unmistakable, sharp, angry, desperate. Thomas. I almost threw it away. But curiosity got the better of me. Elena. You think you've won, but people like me don't disappear. You humiliated me. You turned your mother against me. All I wanted was control because she couldn't handle business and you couldn't handle power. I lost everything because of you. My name, my company, my home. I hope it was worth it. There was no apology, no remorse, just bitterness wrapped in self-pity. The same man, the same tone, still pretending to be the victim in the story he wrote. I folded the letter carefully and slipped it into a box labeled evidence. Not because I needed to keep it, but because I wanted a reminder of what manipulation looks like when it loses its audience. That evening Mom called. He sent one to me too, she said quietly, blaming everyone but himself. Then he hasn't changed, I said. She exhaled. He's moving out of state next week. I told my lawyer to finalize everything before he can stall again. I walked to the window, watching the city lights blur beneath the drizzle. Good, I said softly. Let him run. The truth follows louder than footsteps. That night I didn't feel anger. I felt peace. Because there's something liberating about knowing the worst has already happened, and you survived it with evidence, grace, and your own name intact. Before bed I opened my journal and wrote. Some people learn through love. Others only through loss. I gave both. And for the first time in years I slept without waiting for the next betrayal to arrive. 3 months passed. The court finalized Mom's divorce and Thomas was officially gone. Out of the house, out of the company, out of our lives. Mom moved into a smaller place near the office. A quiet apartment with no marble floors or empty luxury. Just light, plants, and peace. When I helped her unpack, she pulled out an old family photo. The edges were torn, the smiles faded. She stared at it for a long moment before saying softly, I don't even recognize the woman I was. You were surviving, I said. Now you're living. She smiled weakly, setting the frame face down. I couldn't have done any of this without you. I looked around the apartment. My designs on the wall, her new documents labeled Ward Holdings, the name we'd chosen together. You didn't need me to do it, I said. You just needed to stop trusting the wrong people. For the first time she laughed, not bitter, not broken. Just free. At the firm, clients began to return. Our reputation, once clouded by scandal, was reborn under truth. I'd taken on the title of managing director. Something Thomas had said I'd never earn. On my first day in that office I opened the blinds and let the light flood in. There was a new plaque on the wall that read, Integrity is inherited only when protected. Mom joined me later with 2 coffees and a small envelope. Inside was a handwritten note. To my daughter, the one who saved both of us. I'm proud of you. I didn't cry. I just smiled because for once I didn't need proof. Peace had finally replaced the performance. And what we rebuilt was stronger than anything he'd ever taken. 6 months later the company was thriving again. The same name that Thomas had nearly dragged through the mud now stood taller than ever. Rhodes and Ward Group, a name built not from greed but from truth. Mom and I ran the business side by side. No more secrets. No more silence. Just 2 women who had learned the hard way that family is a title you have to earn. On the day of our relaunch gala, the office was filled with laughter and light. Not the forced kind, but the kind that hums quietly when peace has finally found its place. As I stood by the window overlooking the city, my phone buzzed once. A message from an unknown number. You won, Elena. I hope you're happy. I didn't reply. I didn't need to. Because the truth was, I wasn't just happy. I was whole. Later that night Mom took the stage. She spoke softly, voice trembling but strong. There was a time I thought silence kept peace. But silence only protects the wrong people. My daughter taught me that truth isn't cruel, it's cleansing. The crowd applauded and I felt something loosen in my chest, years of resentment dissolving into something lighter. Afterward, as the lights dimmed, Mom turned to me. You taught me to be brave, she said. I smiled. You taught me what happens when we aren't. That's how we learn. Outside, the night was clear, the city reflecting in the glass tower we'd rebuilt together. I looked at our new sign, glowing gold against the darkness, and thought about how far we'd come. Revenge had never been the goal. Peace had. And somehow I'd found both. I whispered under my breath, not to him, not to anyone, just to myself. You should have seen their faces.